Hi there. I'm going to show you in Scratch how you can create a table of values. So I'm in Scratch. I'm just going to actually name this while I'm here, table of values. Let's explore how you can do this. First things first, I'm going to go down on the left-hand side here to variables. And what you'll notice is make a variables here. And I've done videos on this before in creating a variable. But down below, we have make a list. So I'm going to click on make a list. And I'm going to decide, well, what is this list name going to be? And you can name this whatever you want. You can call it my list. In this case, I'm just going to call it table of values, because this would be a great way for showing those things where you're having an input and have a pattern relationship. And then what is that output going to be? All right, so table of values. I'm going to say for all sprites, I always do this, click OK. And now you can see my list, and you can see it's empty. Now, Scratchy the cat doesn't need to be here right now, but I am going to code in kind of Scratchy the cat's environment. So what I'm going to do is on the right-hand side here, you'll see how there's a show, and then there's a hide. So this is actually something you can do in programming, or you can hide your sprites and so on. And in this case, I am going to hide. And now we have our table of values. What you can do here as well is you can see when I put my cursor over the table of values, you can see that it's changing out to this double arrow. So I'm going to use that to just extend my table of values. And you can drag it anywhere on your stage as well. Okay. So there's my table of values. So let's get it set up where I'm actually going to have some values in here. So to do that, what I'm going to do is go to my event blocks, and I'm going to click on the green flag. So when green flag is clicked, I'd like to get started. And to get started, what are we going to do? And I'm going to make this bigger so it's easier to see in this video. Do it here. Perfect. And I'm going to go back to where I created this list in the first place. So let's take a look at some of the blocks that are available. So I'm going to go to under variables, and I have things you can see table of values, and you can see the checkbox here. It works like the variables where if I create a variable, it will be displayed on my stage unless I uncheck this box. And if I do that, you'll see it's disappeared. So I'm going to check that back so that I do have the table of values displayed here. And you can see the different blocks here. We add something to the table of values, delete all, and so on. We're going to explore some of these options here in a moment. But one thing I do know I need to do is I need to have a variable involved here, and I'm going to call it a number, and I'm going to show you how they're connected. So just above here, I'm going to create a variable. And you, again, name your variable whatever you want. I'm going to call it number at this point. And for all sprites, click OK. Okay. And again, the number is now displayed here. I've created it. This check mark here indicates it is going to be visible. At this point, actually, I'm going to uncheck that because it doesn't need to be there. I am going to tie it into my table of values. All right. So what I'd like to do is maybe set this number at a particular start. So I'm going to set number here. So let's drag this on. It says my variable, but I'm going to be specific which variable we're going to refer to. I'm going to refer to number. And I can start at 0 if I want to, or I can start at 1. You can start whatever number. I'm just going to do 1. Set number to 1. Awesome. Great. So if I click this flag right now, so whether I click the block or click the flag here, let's see what happens in my table of values. Okay, nothing. All right, that's perfectly fine because we didn't actually do anything yet where we have to bring in our table of values. So what I'm going to do is add this guy here, and it says add thing to table of values. Well, I don't want to add thing, I want to add my number. So that way I can see it. Because we set the number to 1, it shouldn't be visible anywhere. But now that I've added number to table of values, whatever the number is, it should now be displayed in our table of values. Let's check it this time. So I'm going to click on the green flag. And sure enough, my first input value is 1. I can change it here. Let's say I change it to 5. Let's see. Click on the green flag. Well, wait a minute. Why do we have 5? Let's do this again. If I do 10, let's see what happens. Green flag. Well, I keep getting more values. It's not actually reflecting what my current value is, only in the third value. So this is where I'm going to bring in another block. Take a look here. So I'm going to delete all of the table of values. So I'm going to do that right here, because that means when the green flag is clicked, anything that's currently there in the table of values, I'm going to reset and now only display what I want to display underneath. So let's do that. Click on the green flag. There's my 10. So if I want to change this now to, let's say 100, green flag, and so on. So this is a really nice, clean way of doing it. If your intention is to have all your values that you keep putting in, do not put the delete all for table of values, but this is a really nice, clean way for the most part for when you're creating a table of values and creating all the rules underneath. Okay, now that we have that working, I'm gonna put this back to 1. And I could just repeat this. I could just say set number to 2 to 3 and so on, and just keep playing with that. But I'd rather not have to repeat the same code over and over again. So this is back to the being efficient with my coding. So this is where I'm going to control something, and I'm going to have a repeat block. So I'm going to take my control. I'm going to put repeat in here. And I want this to repeat 10 times. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my add number to the table of values. So I'm actually going to bring this out right here. I'm going to grab this guy because I'm going to say, well, I want you to do this. I'm going to add the number to the list, and I want you to do this 10 times. So let's see where we're at. So all I've done was I've added a repeat block, and I'm going to keep the 10 the default. I've moved the add number to table of values. So that means we're going to be adding this table of value number 10 times to our table of values. That's what I'm thinking should happen. Let's test it. So green flag. Sure enough, I have one display 10 times because I asked to do 10 times. If I asked to do this only 5 times, let's check it out. Green flag, 5 times. Okay, let's put it back to 10. But now this is where you can have fun with the number itself. What are we going to do? What's going to be our pattern? So just for this video, just because you're going to get started with the table of values, I'm going to just keep it really simple. Let's just add, every time we go through this loop, we're going to add one more value to our number. So to do that, I'm going to go back to my variables, and I'm going to change. So drop this within my repeat block. So I want this to happen every time I cycle through that repeat block. I'm going to keep doing this. I need to change this from my variable to number. I'm going to change it by 1, and it's a positive 1, so that means you're going to go increase by an increment of 1. So you're adding 1 every time. Let's test our code to see if that's actually what's happening here. So green flag, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. This is where, again, like I said, you can have some fun with this. What else do you want to do with your value here for your number? You can increase it by whatever number you want. You can use your operator blocks, which we can do in another video, and changing it in terms of patterns. So maybe you're doing even numbers, odd numbers, whatever patterns you want. And again, you can decide how you want to go up here as well. So this is just an introduction to creating table of values. Have fun with that. Hopefully you get more comfortable with it so that when you can add in more patterns, you're good to go.